The truth behind Eve getting kicked out of camp on Bug Juice is so sad. Eve was on season 3 of Bug Juice, and if you watch Disney's Bug Juice, you'll remember her because she was a main cast member. Very abruptly, Eve was kicked out of camp, and Disney never showed the reason why, although lots of rumors spread that it was because she brought greenery into the camp. A few years ago, Eve was interviewed for an article with Vice where she exposed the truth behind her getting kicked out. If you're a Disney Bug Juice fan, I highly suggest that you read it, but I'll do my best to give the summary. Eve explained that there was a camper that she knew who had gotten in trouble and had greenery on her. He then asked Eve if she could hide it in her suitcase. That day, Eve wasn't feeling too well, so she went to bed early, and she was awoken by the director and co-director of the camp screaming at her. They were yelling that they knew that Eve had something on her, which genuinely Eve had no idea what they were talking about. She thought they were referring to Sour Patch Kids that she had in her bag. At one point, they grabbed her so hard that they left a bruise. They completely tore apart Eve's things. And because Disney cameras didn't film at night, none of this was caught on camera. That night, they forced Eve to sleep at their house on the couch. They called Eve's mom, saying they found money and also condoms on her. They went on to say that Eve was a bad influence on the other campers, she was selling drugs, and she was also being promiscuous. Eve explains that she totally didn't realize she had money on her, it was just in her bag. And for the condoms, she probably got them from sex ed at school. Once the camera crew arrived that morning to film and they realized that Eve was getting kicked out, they fought hard for her. They offered to show the directors all of the camp footage, saying that if Eve was doing any of this, it would have to be caught on camera. However, sadly, the camp made their decision. Eve really goes into detail how this affected the rest of her life and how this was the start of her panic attack. She doesn't make excuses, she just explains that she really was not doing any of this. She wasn't a rebellious child. She explains that she was a camper there for so long. And the hardest part wasn't necessarily leaving camp, but more so that these adults that she trusted that created such a safe space for her had turned their backs on her. Today, Eve seems to live a very happy life. She's a filmmaker and an artist. And truly, her interview with Vice was such a good one. When I talk about reality TV from the late 90s and early 2000s, I always highlight how difficult it must have been to not be able to have a platform to defend yourself. So many ways, reality TV was a lot simpler back then. You didn't have people creating memes, you didn't have social media turning their back on you. It was a little easier back then to distance yourself from reality TV. However, at the same time, the way you were portrayed was really written in ink. There were no social media platforms that you could get on and kind of tell your side of the story. And again, this obviously goes into the bigger discussion of the dangers of having minors on reality TV.